Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello students, welcome to the NPTEL online course on visual communication design for digital media. We started discussing design semiotics and visual perception. So in the previous module we started discussing design semiotics, and today we'll continue the second part of the semiotics. In the previous module we have discussed the semiotics has three different segments. One is the syntax and the semantics and the pragmatics. Syntax is the structure or the arrangement of the signages. Semiotics is the science of signage or signs, or it can be even the photographs. It might not be an iconic signs or pictograms. So the syntax is the structural part, and then the meaning part of it is a semantics, and then the interpretation, the user's communication or the functional part of it, that is the pragmatics. So semiotics, we have discussed the semiotics different parts, which is and we also discuss the semantics different parts, and today we'll discuss mainly the pragmatics and the syntax and different parts of pragmatics and syntax. So code is a part of semantics. We started discussing semantics, and we have seen that we have discussed icons, we have discussed symbols, and we have discussed index, and there's another thing is which is code. So code is the semiotics, and it's cultural and socio-cultural aspects. It's dependent on the socio-culture. The part which is dependent on the socio-cultural aspect is code. So code is not a direct communication of an icon with a user. So user should have some cultural background learning or a cultural backdrop to understand, to interpret the code. So for example, here we have the Om, which is associated with the Hindu religion. So somebody who have seen that sign, seen this particular symbol is will decode the meaning of it. So that is how the code will only communicate with a particular socio-cultural the person who has a particular socio-cultural learning. And even the same sign, same symbol, or the similar looking symbols can interpret to a different person differently. For example, if we have this particular icon or sign, to Hindu people it can depict swastik, and to people who have associated with who have seen Nazi movements, and can also associate this, if we rotate that in 45-degree, can have a Nazi symbol. So two different thing, and for two different cultures, socio-cultural people, it can associate, it can communicate, the similar looking sign can communicate differently. So code can be of two types. One is digital code and another is analog code. So for digital code, what it is it has a particular set. So if it differs, the meaning will be different. So it has a clearly different form of each other. For example, if we have a sign for restroom or the toilet, if we have a male figure, it depicts a male toilet, and it's a particular sign. So it has a particular way to depict this. If we change this, the meaning might not be as clear to the people. And for the female toilet, we have a different kind of set. So here this is not this is a very abstract form of a female figure. It can be different as well, but we have associated this with the toilet. So this kind of image has to be there for easy identification. For example, for other example, we can take a flight departure and flight arrivals logo. So both has flights, and both also has a line which signifies the ground and the position of the flights, which has a reference plane, reference point. So if the flight is tilted upwards, so it denotes arrival. So we cannot change the flight's even the change the flight's direction. If we change the flight's direction, it can create a lot of confusion. So a little bit of change in this kind of codes will differ the meaning. And if we add two dots, that's the wheels of the flights are there, and flight is touching the runway, so that's the arrival of the flight. So if we change the direction, again it will the complete meaning will be different, and the communication and wayfinding design of a airport will be hampered. So digital code is very particular, and we should follow certain kind of norms to represent that. So in case of analog code, we can have a multiple option to depict an analog code. So for example, if we want to depict a word tree, we can have a different kind of trees. We can have coniferous trees, we can have columnar trees, we can have a globular or circular trees. We can say this is, we can depict a tree with a mango tree or pine tree or different kind of trees, and they can have drastically different forms, but still we should just have that stem and that canopy part of the tree, and that will depict the tree. But if you want to depict a particular kind of tree, for example coconut tree, so none of these logos will none of the codes will act. Only here we can see there's something which resembles a coconut tree will define a coconut tree. So for coconut tree, all this set doesn't work. So that's only this is a digital code. But we depict just tree. We take the word tree. Then all this thing acts as an analog code and depicts the word tree. So next this also was a part of semantics. Right now we'll discuss the part of syntax and pragmatics. So we start with the syntax, which is the structural part of the signs and symbols. So syntax has mainly two different parts, which is syntagm and paradigm, and from that we can have two other things, which is myths and ideology, which is a association with syntagm and paradigm. So syntagm and paradigm is the main two different part of syntax, and in myths there are syntagm and paradigm acts together, and ideology also there's some differences between myths, and which we'll discuss. So first start with the syntagm. Syntagm is a collection of signs in a particular organization. So when we understand syntagm, it has to be read in a particular direction. So it has a sequence. It has a sequence associated with it. So if we change the sequence, the meaning of the syntax or the meaning of the signages towards the user will be absolutely destroyed. So that part is syntagm. But in case of paradigm, it's just an association of some signages. So the juxtaposition and the way it is organized doesn't matter. But for example, in the case of syntagm, it matters. So for example, we have the IBM's logo designed by Paul Rand. So Paul Rand's IBM logo, we see the normal IBM logo, which is I, B, and M is written. This is the second option which we have designed. So this is just an I, which is a human eye, and then there's a B, and then M is written the way IBM's logo's M is written. So it's the similar thing. But here, if we jumble up the three different sequence, it doesn't read IBM. So it will be just an I, and then B, and then M. So if you think the M comes here and the I comes there, so it's the BMI. So which doesn't have an association with the brand IBM's. With the brand IBM. So the sequence here is very important, and the way it's sequenced, it's dependent. The meaning is dependent on that. For example, each and every comic strip and each and every for example, we were discussing Patachitras. Patachitras, if an each and every frames, if we jumble up that, so the story will be destroyed, and the meaning will not be there. So here we also have a Dilbert's comic strip, which if we change the first frame with the second frame, the meaning will be meaning of the complete story will be absolutely destroyed. So for example, if we want to write the word book, it should be B, then O, K. So if we jumble up, then it will be absolutely destroyed. And then we come to the paradigm. Unlike it's the way syntagm was there, so it was the sequence was very important, but in case of paradigm it doesn't matter, because paradigm is a similar looking thing and similar sort of icons. If we change the icon's position, or if we replace the icon with some other kind of icon, it doesn't matter. So for example, if we go back to the previous slide, where all these codes were analogous codes, because if we think about a particular code, it's an analogous code. So this tree, if we think about the tree and replace this, so this is an analogous code because it might be changed. But if we think about all these trees together and interpret that it's a forest, or there are different kind of trees, and so that gives us a sensation of paradigm. So lot of trees together gives a can depict a phylum, or can depict a flora. The community of flora can be depicted with different kind of trees. For example, if we have icons of different kind of animals, the community of fauna can be depicted. So the communication of flora with all different kind of trees is a paradigm, and the communication of fauna with all different kind of communication of the fauna with all different kind of animals logo can be a paradigm. So here we can grammatically explain the paradigm. So here also if we think that 1, 2, 3 and 4 comes in a sequence, so this is what is syntagm, and here in the vertical column, this is paradigm. So the horizontal row is syntagm. So 1 comes, the 2 comes after 1, then 3, then 4. So this is syntagm, but 3 can be replaced with 3a, 3b, 3c and so on and so forth. And if we replace 3e with 3a, the sequence of the meaning doesn't change. So meaning will be similar, and all the sets together of 3a to 3i together is a paradigm. So for example, if we take an example of a e-commerce websites. So here in the home page there they will flash different products together. So in the first home page they want to grab users attention, and they will show some product. And so if we replace each for example in the second row there are some it's talking about some fashion products or the apparels. So if we replace one photograph with different kind of another photograph with different person wearing different shirt or different clothes, it doesn't the meaning the way it the meaning it conveys doesn't change, because it's talking about apparel, and every photo of apparel can be placed and it jumbles up. So which photo comes after what doesn't change the meaning, unlike to the syntagm what we discussed, that I, B and M has to be properly sequenced so that the meaning goes to the user's mind. But here if we change the sequence, if we jumble up the sequence, the meaning doesn't change, and together we can understand that this is a e-commerce website, and they have so many products, and they are also selling watch, they are selling men's garment, they are selling women's garment. The sequence here is not important and doesn't communicate to the user. Then myth is it's not that important. Syntagm and paradigm is the most important thing. But myth is when there is a combination of paradigm as well as a syntagm. In certain cases, it can happen, and so we can think about a cowboy story or the romance story. They are myth, and a lot of particular sequential storytelling and as well as the different there can be different options in the storytelling as well. So paradigms and syntagm together creates a myth. An ideology is when there is a code and then which has a connection and which reinforces through a structure and which can be interpreted through a common sense. So there is a socio-cultural aspect and which is actually a code, so which is a interpretation of a particular society. So that's comes under the ideology part. Then we come to the next important thing, which is pragmatics or the meaning making thing, where the user's perception, the how user interprets all this syntax and the semantics, what the designer designs, and how user right now we have the socio-cultural context and how users are looking at it. So syntax, we have the sequence and we have the structural part of it, then semantics, the meaning part of it, and the pragmatics is the communication. So meaning is there and users socio-cultural context is there, users mental model is there. So together how the what is the relationship between that, so that comes under the pragmatics. So pragmatics has three different divisions. One is the connotation, the connotative meaning, and next is the denotation, and the third is the polysemy. So if we take the first thing, which is first we discuss denotation, which is the easiest to understand and most direct. So denotation is the representation of sign which is very direct and which has the primary meaning, and everybody without any cultural context and with lot of visual lot of cognitive processing, without a lot of cognitive processing, will easily get the meaning. And this is very basic and literal, and it has a direct meaning. For example, we were discussing that in the semantics part, we were discussing that Munch's scream. So Munch's scream is actually when the meaning goes, it's not a denotative meaning, because we don't see scream there. We just see a person on a bridge and and under a very reddish colored sky. So that's there. So that is the denotative meaning. So that's the direct meaning. And when we start interpreting that, what can be the meaning of a red sky, what can be the person's expressions, meaning of the expression, then the part scream comes into our mind. So that's not the denotative part, that's the connotative part, we'll discuss later. So here we have Andy Warhol's Campbell's can, 100 cans. It's a postmodern painting. So he have repetitively have drawn several tomato soup cans. So in its denotative meaning, it's just a repetitive tomato soup can. It's a tomato soup can in a lot of tomato soup cans association, but that is just the denotative meaning. But when we try to interpret the meaning of that, so it talks about the postmodern modernist repetitive daily life. So that is not the direct meaning. So in the connotative meaning, so the 100 soup can has the modernist life, it is talking about the life, but in denotative meaning it's just a soup can. So next it comes to the connotation. Connotation is the science secondary meaning. So what it interprets, the for understanding the connotative meaning, we should think and there will be mental processing, the cognitive processing, and then from denotative meaning we'll come back to the connotative meaning. So connotative meaning will not come if we don't understand the denotative meaning. So denotative meaning will be first, and then we process through our socio-cultural context, through our own intelligence, then we can understand the next layer of meaning. and it might not be just process our intelligence. It can be for sometimes we should have some sociocultural knowledge to it. For example, here we have a Gauguin's particular painting which has a sociocultural aspect. So it has a meaning to a particular it has a particular meaning to the Gauguin tribe. So they paint the deer, and which the horn of this deer is transformed into the a tree. So the literal meaning will be there's a deer which whose horn is transformed into a tree, but only to the people who have associated with the Gauguin culture and the folklore can understand the meaning and significance of this painting. Again, we have the this painting of Nandalal Bose, Ardha Narishwar. So it's a Shiva and Parvati together combined in a figure. So it talks about the holistic combination of the world, where we have female and male together and their coexistence. And so this meaning is particular to some sociocultural dependent on some sociocultural idea and sociocultural knowledge. So if we don't have that knowledge, and if we cannot interpret the meaning, and even the color of color used and everything has some meaning associated with it. Generally we depict Shiva with white, and he have depicted that the contrast is depicted with blue color, and the Parvati has depicted with red color, which also has a cultural connection to it. So all these things comes into the connotative meaning. And again, another example, if we take an example of apple. So apple has a particular meaning, and apple is a fruit. That's a denotative meaning of apple. But if the apple is here in Titian's famous painting, Adam and Eve is there, and the apple is there. So that apple here in this painting has an absolutely different connection, and it tells a different story to us, and if we know the story, and then it is revealed to us. And again we have the famous photograph Son of Man. So this is this photograph. So we don't understand the meaning of this if we don't have the story, if we don't understand, if we don't know the story of Adam and Eve, because apple is here from the story Adam and Eve. Apple is a symbol of knowledge, symbol of curiosity, and that is why and man has curiosity, and that's why we are different from the other animal. So our face is not the realistic face, it's not detailed, because each and everybody's face is different. So he didn't wanted to give a particular identity. So it's that's why it's Son of Man. And the main thing is man has curiosity. That's why the apple is placed in front of man's face. So this is a connection drawn from Adam and Eve's story. So if we don't know the story, we don't understand the painting. And then it can also be depicted, same thing can be depicted in a different context. If we put that same green apple in a different context, it can have a complete different meaning. For example, we have a Head and Shoulders packaging design. Here the apple doesn't have any connection with the Adam and Eve's story, or the way it has been interpreted, and it has been showed in the Son of Man, the painting. So it here the apple is just the fragrance of the it depicts the fragrance of the shampoo bottle, and it also shows freshness and clean. The color of it and the juxtaposition with the bluish tint of the water gives us a look of fresh, and gives a iconic a brand identity, and it's just a shampoo bottle's design. So this doesn't have a connection to this the story. Even we can talk about the same apple. So here the denotative meaning is, if we think about the Apple's logo, it's just apple which is bitten by some person. So it's just a iconic image of an apple. But if we understand that, if somebody knows that this is a logo of a particular brand, Apple, then they will understand this is the logo. This depicts. This doesn't depict a fruit. This depicts a brand. So, and also there's a second hidden layer into it, because as Steve Jobs said, that stay hungry, stay foolish. So it is this apple, the connection of this apple has also a connection with the Adam and Eve's apple, because apple also denotes curiosity, and it's not the full apple, it's a half-beaten apple, because this gives the connection of the story of Adam and Eve's apple and man's curiosity towards knowledge and forbidden things. And here also we have a Windows logo. So it's for some people it can be just a silhouette of window, but for some people it is a logo of a particular brand. So those are the connotative meaning of a particular icon. Next we come to the polysemy. Polysemy is if we think about the etymology, it's poly means many and semi is the meaning. So it has a different multiple meaning. So according to the semiotician Ronald Barthes, he first used this term and established this term, that for different people, as we have a different cultural socio-cultural aspects, and we are conditioned differently, same icon can communicate to different people in a different way. So for instance, if we go back to the previous thing, and also he says, Barthes says that each and every painting, each and every icon, each and every images has a different meaning to the different people. So each and everything is polysemy. So nothing is similar. The way one person interprets a photograph or an image will be little bit different than the other person interprets the image. For example, if we look at the second painting here, so for some people it can be just a person, and he can think about the color combination, he can think about the other aspects of the painting, and for some people he can only think about the apples and this just juxtaposition of this people's face. And even for some people, here the Head and Shoulders brand logo, here this apple can mean different things to this, and even some people can draw a connection to this apple to the Adam's and Eve's apple if the people's one, and that's absolutely subjective and depends on the user. So we go deep into polysemy. We try to understand how the polysemy works. So he says in polysemy there will be 3 layers of message. One will be the linguistic message. If something is written, so the verbal the text will be the one layer of message. The next will be non-coded iconic message, the very direct message which is similar to denotation. So for example, if we take the example of 100 soup can by Andy Warhol, the Campbell's logo, and it's also written that that's a tomato soup can. So that is the linguistic message, the first layer of message. The second layer of message is the non-coded iconic message, which is very direct, which is denotative. That is the soup can. So there is a soup can and people understand that as a soup can. That is the non-coded and very direct message which we get. So that's the first layer of interpretation. That's the denotative message. And the next will be the coded iconic message. So if we see there's a repetitive, Andy Warhol has drawn a same soup can repetitively, so then we'll question ourselves why he have done that. So what is the significance of the repetitive soup can? Then we can understand if we are if we are properly investigating what is the meaning and what is the context, and being that in a drawn in a postmodern era and being a postmodern painter, so we can understand the connection, we can draw a connection of the postmodern concept and try interpreting it, and we can find out that he's talking about the repetitiveness of postmodern culture, and also there's an advertising and public connection with the postmodern pop culture. So that also gives us that we are more dependent on the consumerism, and we are dependent of canned product. So that also comes into our mind, and then we interpret the meaning of our daily life, how our daily life has is becoming a repetition of the same day what we have like the previous days. So that is the coded iconic, the third layer of meaning. So that has been discussed over here. So a detail of this. So for example, if we also take the first photograph is the Domino's, the way Domino's gives communicates with the users what is the position of the, what is the condition of your order. So you here we are taking an example of a design, web design or application design. So for some people it's just a timeline. So it tells us what is the your order is placed, and then what is the next thing, and what is the next thing, what is the next process will come. So the first layer of linguistic meaning will be people will read it and will interpret the way interpret the what is the situation of the order of your pizza is. And it can also be coded as this is time frame, that is the direct non-coded meaning. So people will interpret this symbolically. This is a time frame, this is a circular time frame, and if we read it, that's a linguistic communication. But for some people, as we who is giving the order, for them the pizza, the shape of the pizza and the way pizza is cut, everything is known. So they have seen pizza, so they will associate the shape of the pizza with these pies. So this looks like a pizza, and if we have seen that, and so that comes into our mind. So there is an association of coded association or coded meaning into it, and that has been used in a very interesting design feature of this Domino's pizza delivery mobile application. Here also we have the WWF's logo and the advertisement over here. So here the first link meaning, which is the linguistic meaning, will be we read that this is a WWF is written there, so we can understand this is a WWF's advertisement. And the next non-coded meaning is, so this takes a form based on the Gestalt's principle, and we also have seen Escher's figure ground relationship. We can interpret this is a there are a lot of tigers, and this forms the outer holistic big picture is also a tiger, and the smaller fragmented parts are also smaller parts of the tiger. That is the non-coded meaning. Then if we start interpreting why this has been designed in this way, so it could have been just a silhouette of a tiger, or it could have been just a photograph of a tiger. But if we see from this side, so we start reading from this side to that side, so our eyes also move from this side to that side, which we will discuss in the next module. So here there are a lot of tigers, so there's a density of tigers, and the density of tigers is reduced, so it's dying. So it gives a message that the density of tigers are reduced because of the human activity, and which is negative impact on the ecosystem of the earth. So that message is given through a layered and coded iconographic expression, so through the figure ground relationship. So here the general density of the tiger is fading away, and even we see the tiger's face is this way, so it's facing this way, and it's facing towards a extinction. So if it is faced in the other way, then we can the meaning could have been absolutely different. So here there is also a part of syntagm. So if we change the sequence, so if we change the face or change the direction, the meaning can be different. So it's the meaning could have been absolutely opposite. So the tiger's density is increasing, but its density is decreasing because the tiger is faced this way, the big picture tiger, and also the smaller icons of the tigers are also faced this way. So it's leading toward, it's going towards the extinction. That's the message of this advertisement. So thank you, and in the next module we will discuss the visual interpretation and the how people interpret, not in a sign or pictures or in a particular fragmented a micro level, smaller photograph or pictures, but holistically in a composition. We'll discuss about the composition, how we read the composition together in with icons, with text, with other words together, and what is the principles and how our mind act. So cognitive principles will come, and we'll discuss gestures principles and other principles, and interpretation of a complete visual design. Thank you.